Yo, what's good? It's RJ checking in with the quarters. Got my guy Believe right here with me. About to chop it up. Yeah, let y'all know what we got going on.
RJ, talk about some of your early start in music and what were some of your hobbies that you had before you started?
Yeah, so I don't know. I always took a liking into like poetry and like wordplay. Like I felt like growing up, like I ain't have like the best looks, so I always felt like I could use my words to get like, you know what I'm saying, what I wanted in this life, whether it was like the women or just like whatever I wanted. So I started out like writing poetry to like just help with my wordplay and shit like that. And sooner or later that just transitioned into me like writing songs and shit like that, cause like growing up my moms would listen to like real like soulful music, you know what I'm saying? That's the type of shit that I was into, like Lauryn Hill, Sade, like that's what I was into. So I began like writing music like that, like singing and really getting on that type of level with it.
So you're 19, right?
I'm 20.
20. Just
Yeah.
when's your birthday?
December 31st, the last day of the year.
All right. So
Shit,
I know back in 2017 you really had a lot of success on SoundCloud.
yeah.
And even one of your songs has like over like 2 or 3 million plays.
Yeah.
So how did some of like your early influences, you're talking about your mom, how did that play into, your music going forward in the SoundCloud era?
Yeah, in fact, so that whole era was crazy for me because like growing up I ain't have too much, so I wasn't into like the social medias because I ain't really have a phone and shit growing up. All I knew was what I knew, like writing in my pad and shit, like, and my mom, she write poetry heavy too, so she would definitely help me with my grammar and shit like that. It wasn't until like I came back to New Orleans because I lived in Tennessee most of my childhood. So when I came back to New Orleans and I linked up with like my family and all my cousins and shit, once they found out I knew how to rap, that's when they put that camera in front of my face. I was like, you know what I'm saying, we gonna make you do this shit. So they kind of like molded me into like being a real artist, you feel me? So once I guess they started like posting videos of me rapping, people reached out to me and was like, yo, we need to get you in the studio, shit like that. And Bang Bang hit me up. I didn't know who it was at the time. That's an artist out here going crazy. He hit me up and was like, yo, I want to get you in my studio and let's record a song. And we recorded Not Enough together, and that's the record that hit like 2 mil. And that shit was crazy for me, like from just having nothing and nobody hearing my voice, like nobody even really fuck with me like that, you know what I'm saying? I just was this quiet kid, you feel me? So for that shit was crazy for me. So that's when I knew like, okay, it's time to really take this shit serious, and we just went crazy on SoundCloud. I dropped my project that year and we just, we've been going crazy on that.
So I was told that you did some like a show for the House of Blues where it was like about seven people were selected out of about 100 people.
Yeah.
And talk about how like that was your first performance at the time, right?
Yeah, in fact, that was my first. As a matter of fact, that was my second performance. I remember my first performance was at a little birthday party, but like as far as like a real performance on stage, that was my first shit.
Okay, and at that time, Not Enough was out?
Yeah, that was out at that time.
All right, so I mean, just talk about how like, achieving success on SoundCloud, but you're also a person at the time, you hadn't even done many shows.
Yeah.
You didn't have much experience on stage.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of correlate, like, your SoundCloud success? Was it, confidence you had to build up, like, in real life as opposed to, like, doing music online?
Yeah, straight up. So, like, I had to build a confidence in real life because, like, when the camera on you, it's just the camera, you know what I'm saying? And the guys that was recording me at school, like, those were my guys. So I was comfortable just rapping in front of the camera with them and shit. So when I got selected for this was, like, a whole different ball game, you know what I'm saying? I knew that I would have to work with other artists, something I had never really like done like that except for like Bang Bang. I would have to work with like other artists that I didn't know, and eventually, I would have to perform on that big main stage. So it was definitely different. I had to build that confidence, you feel me, like real shit. So by the time I did perform though, I was comfortable up there. I felt like that was one of like my worst performances for real. Like I got videos and shit of it, but it just was just for the simple fact that I was so young and I was so excited and I just was on the stage moving and not focusing on my breathing and shit like that. But I had a blast, so yeah, I had to build that confidence to get there.
So, you talk about working with other artists. So, Believe it, he's an artist, so a great artist too. So how did y'all meet, and how did that relationship come to be?
So I really met him through that House of Blues program called Bringing Down the House. That was back in 2017. So that's really how I met him. You feel me? Like I was messing with this little chick at the time, and she knew him through whatever, but she put him on to my music, and he reached out to me. You know what I'm saying? At the time, I wasn't really fucking with people. Like, I thought bro was like a weirdo on some shit. You feel me? Cause like I wasn't really fucking with like niggas like that unless they was like in my circle, in my bubble. But he really like put that work in, like behind me, like telling people like, you know what I'm saying, like, yo, this RJ, like he a fire artist. And he knew the people who was running the House of Blues program. You know what I'm saying? So he the one who put that word in for me to even get selected. You see what I'm saying? So when he did that shit, I'm like, oh yeah, he like a real stand-up nigga. You know what I'm saying? So we just been rocking ever since then. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, now you've achieved your own success. You got over 100K on Instagram. You know, you got your recent signing with NBA, correct?
Yeah.
And so talk about how like that transition, because you know you achieved success on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
So talk about that transition from SoundCloud to the industry now that you're a signed artist.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame for real. Cause like when you working by yourself, you kind of like you moving like all over the place. You kind of get to do what you want. But like when you sign and you working with other people, you kind of gotta slow down and map everything out. But ain't really too much change. You know, I'm still in the studio working every day. I still keep my guys around me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Ain't shit changed. You know, I'm still the same. Just working even harder now. I'm saying just a little more richer with a little bit more ambition. Yeah, straight up.
So I know before you got to NBA's camp, you were with ABoogie.
Yeah.
So kind of talk about how you know the role he played on your career.
Yeah.
And you know we can go from there.
Yeah, he played a major role, definitely. I felt like at the time when I met him, I kind of was like I was lost a little bit, like, because I was on my own, like, just putting the music out on SoundCloud. But I knew that I wanted to take my career, like, to a whole nother level. So I felt like him reaching out to me was, like perfect timing. You feel what I'm saying? And I was messing with my dog at the time. And he was in school in Atlanta.
Yeah, but I was at the studio with Quando and Blue. Blue.
Right, yeah. And so
we went to the party.
He wound up running into ABoogie and shit. And he put the word in Boogie ear, like, yo, RJ, my brother, like, you know what I'm saying? Because Boogie been, like, reaching out to me and shit, telling me that my music fire. And he knew that. So I guess when he saw him, he was like, it's the perfect opportunity to really put the message in his ear that, you know, I've been working and shit. And so he linked up with him. He chopped it up with him. And lo and behold, Boogie hit me up personally and was like, yo, I got a show in Pittsburgh. I want to fly you out so you could see, like, you know what I'm saying, how this industry shit really is and all that shit. So he flew me and the bro out. We went to the show. And for like from that show going forward for like another year and a half, we just was on the road with Boogie. Like, so we really got to see like how everything worked, like in the studio, like on a real industry level. You know what I'm saying? And that just made me want to work and grind even harder. So it definitely had a big impact on my career and my sound. Definitely.
So like, what specifically, like, what specific elements of your music did he, you know, have like a hand in improving or like of your artistry?
Definitely the recording process, because before my trip with those guys at HBTL, I definitely was like writing. Everything was written, like, cause like I said, I wrote a lot of poetry. You know what I'm saying? So everything was like premeditated. I would sit on it, think on it. So it kind of made the song making process a little slower. But when I linked up with him and those guys and watching the way he record, like everything is like right there. Like if he thinking it, he say that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's a whole creative process behind it. But it really changed the way I record, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to sit down and spend all these hours like writing. I could just say how I feel, like right there, and like express myself that way and be creative in any possible way I can. You feel me? So he changed my whole like recording process. Facts.
So did your writing skills come from, you know, poetry that you did when you were younger?
Yeah, definitely. My mom used to write poetry and read poetry to me all the time, like Maya Angelou and shit like that. So I always took a liking into like creative writing classes and grammar and shit like that.
Okay. So I know that you're saying like you don't, you know, pretty much you don't write anymore.
Yeah, nah.
So how much of it, like, of all your music is like stuff that, you know, that you're going through at the time?
90 to 100% of that shit. You feel me? Like straight up. I don't like to too much fabricated if I said like I meant it, and especially with like the love records, you know what I mean? Like all that shit is like true, like down to like 100%. But if it's not, then it's still true. It's just not a story that's like not mine. Sometimes I like to, if bro tell me a story, like I'll put that shit in the music, you know what I'm saying, rather than telling my story. So yeah, this shit all 100.